Who are you excited about?
Excitement to me means intimidation. How can I get someone to say something or be impressed or surprised? So that's why the mirror of reading back to someone what they've said, I do it to avoid getting that as your answer, but also because it helps me build on what their theories, philosophies, feelings are, and then pushing a bit farther. And then being able to do that within an hour, that still feels like a complete interview. That's the struggle.
That's insane to me.
You know how they say knowledge is power? It's almost the opposite for me. When I didn't know who these people were, other than what they did, it was fine. But when you dig deeper, and I'm shocked that we don't bow down to them in scheduling meetings. Billy Norwich told me that speaking with me was the first opportunity he had to just talk. I never plan anything after a session, and I never stop an interview. I'm conscious of the person's time, but a lot of people say they have this amount of time, and then if they keep talking, I'm not going to remind them.
Hi, everyone. I'm Edward Barsamian, and surprise, this is Going Rogue. If you've listened to this podcast, you know Jill Demling is the one asking the questions, pulling apart careers, decoding images, and getting people to say the things they don't usually say. But this week, the tables turned. Jill and I first met on a Vogue shoot with Blake Lively in 2009. I was an assistant. She was already deep into shaping the culture at Vogue. We went on to work together for 6 years. And since then, we've both left the ivory tower, but we found a way to keep working together on our own terms. I was also a guest on Going Rogue early on. Make sure to check that episode out. And due to popular demand, we flipped the mic. Jill went in without any notes, no outline, no prep, which makes sense because this is her life. This isn't a greatest hits interview. It's instinctive, it's unpolished, it's honest. This isn't Jill Demling, the interviewer. This is Jill Demling in her own words. This is Going Rogue. Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh my God. It's like weekends are just as bad as weekdays.
Yup.
Because I'm trying to catch up, but I still don't have enough hours.
Yeah.
And I really need an AI that understands what I'm trying to say. Because what's happened is Nick Knight's team called and they're like, we're working on his 25th anniversary, this film he wants to do. It has to shoot in 2 weeks. And we wanted to see if you'd get involved. And I'm like, I have family style event I'm working on. I have a Sotheby's event and Qatar. And I go, let me get back to you. Then I thought, okay, I'll do this if Nick Knight comes on the podcast.
Yeah.
They said, okay. But trying to build out an outline for him is impossible. So
you're getting some really good people on. Who are you excited about coming up?
Excitement to me, I guess, means intimidation. I've been looking for this magician because doing tarot cards about the podcast months ago, it said the magician will change things. When I was researching Nick, I was like, I wonder if he's a magician. So I had ChatGPT pull a card on Nick and the magician came up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's just
so
about
great.
that's why interviewing him is important that I get it right.
You said it's not excitement, it's intimidation. JD, literally, I need you to unpack that statement for me. You do realize the talents you've booked. You do realize the people you've worked with and ushered, et cetera, et cetera. How are you intimidated by these people? That's insane to me.
You know how they say knowledge is power? It's almost the opposite for me. When I didn't know who these people were, other than what they did or what they did in the context of what I did, it was fine. Like, hey, let's talk about Sandra Bullock, 1994. You know what I mean? But then when you dig deeper, and I'm shocked that we don't even bow down to them in scheduling meetings, or they should all be called Mr. Knight or Knight, right?
Yeah.
Because he was knighted. It almost makes me look back, and I haven't been physically on a shoot with Nick Knight, but almost, let's say someone like Christian or Stefan Murray, like, did I just act like they were just people there, or did I give them the respect they have?
Gave them the respect by being you, by treating
But
them.
when you like talk to someone on the phone and you're emailing with someone, right? You don't know them. You don't know their age. Sometimes if they're a female or male or how they identify, blah, blah, blah. It could be a name like Andy. And then like 4 emails later, someone tells you they're 60 years old and a female, and you question, even though you didn't know anything different, you question how you interacted with them.
Completely.
With what your presumptions were.
Yeah, your perception of who they are, for sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that thing.
You have worked with and booked all of these people. So it's interesting to hear you say that there are still people who intimidate you. Who's on that list? I'm just curious.
Yes, I grapple with what I perceive their perception of me to be. And then I go down a rabbit hole of them as artists and me as a wrangler. And then I go down, it's all this. And then building out La Roche, his Instagram post this week helps me because it's about snap out of it, get back to your core confidence.
Yeah.
Working on his posts for this week with all of his strong messaging about self-belief has at least aided me through the weekend a little bit with night. You know what I mean?
Like, you're doing, and everybody that you're talking about, your Nick Knights, your Stephen Kleins, appreciate a figure like you who is so literally the circus master. I think Anna's the ringleader, you're the circus master. You put all of the shows and acts together, right? That's what you've done. That's your superpower, for lack of a better phrase. I don't think you should go into any of these in an intimidated manner. If it's King Charles, sure, maybe a little bit. You know what I mean? Not Camilla, though. But I think it's the fact that you do just talk to people as people that gets them to just open up and share. Different story, same story is the whole thing. But you got this. You're good.
There's some people that have something that they want to say. And I think I learned this from speaking with Billy Norwich. And what he told me was that speaking with me was the first opportunity he felt he's ever had to just talk. And I interpreted that as, you speak to a therapist, right? And you could say whatever you want, but the therapist will say at 59 minutes that the session's almost up, right? And you can talk to your friend on the phone, but not for as long as you want. Eventually they're going to say, I got to go, right? So I never plan anything after a session, and I never stop an interview. I'm conscious of the person's time, but a lot of people say they have this amount of time, and then if they keep talking, I'm not going to remind them, right? So with that being said, these people have careers decades long. If we're going to wrap things up in a small amount of time, I don't want them to think I'm forgetting all of these other things, or that I'm not mentioning maybe the things that they think are career highlights or that they're known for as career highlights. So I always try to start with, I know you do all of this, but we're going to focus on magazines. And I think with Nick Knight, I felt that his contribution to magazines is important. I wonder how important magazines' contribution to his art is. So do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're saying. His perception of his career, it's not going to be the same as somebody else, right?
Right.
He probably is like, that's the least important thing.
Right. So it's finding a way to do that while bringing in things. And listen, 100% I'm overthinking everything. But
Yes.
it's an opportunity I would have never thought I could potentially have. So I want to make the most of it. And then I have the pressure on myself if he is the magician, that for the magician to do its work, I have to make the space for that. And that's not by asking stupid questions. That's not by making it boring for him. It's about pushing for something that is magical. And it's finding out how to do that with someone that I don't know.
Should we start?
Oh, yeah.
I guess, I mean, I like your early questions. Did you read Vogue when you were young? Like, did you grow up in a Vogue household?
Definitely not Vogue. I can remember Sassy for sure. Like, because then
Talk to me about Sassy.
or
I'm unfamiliar.
yeah, was it Sassy? Let's see. I'm in high school, late 80s, and middle school, mid 80s. So I don't really remember magazines. I do remember that there were those like Tiger Beat or some
Tiger
sort of
Beat.
that
Yeah.
type of thing. Because I remember sometimes I'd have the covers of them, but I don't remember going out and buying them. And I definitely didn't have like a subscription to them.
So would you say that you were more entertainment skewed than fashion skewed
Well,
in terms?
no, I do remember in high school, either my mom must have gotten some magazines or maybe there's some runway coverage in my Sassy. I definitely know I thought that was so cool. I definitely remember getting that. I remember the glossy cover. I remember thinking it was like, wow, this is so cool. But I did cut out pictures of models, but not in editorial shoots, what just around the model. Linda Evangelista from an early Versace show, Christy from a Versace show, and the kind of the wild outfits. This was prior to me going into my Betsy Johnson stage, so it was all the Todd Oldham stuff. And I'd have them pasted to my wall, but they
The
weren't.
model.
Yeah, but it wasn't in an editorial pose. It was the runway pictures.
I love that you had the runway exit looks like taped
Yeah,
up to your wall.
yeah.
That's interesting. So it was the models that okay, what did you find so compelling? Was it the fashion or was it them?
Yeah, I don't know. I know at that time I was really into fashion in my own way, right? So Benetton Esprit. Esprit was like my jam. I
Amazing.
had kind of the crazy haircuts. And it was funny, I talked to Christian about it because I did have a version of the undercut.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like a bob and it would go higher in the back and then it'd be shaved in the
Please
back.
tell me there are photos.
Oh my God. And then with the Esprit, there was the parachute pants. They were like felt almost like plastic. So it was like a pleather.
Like
Um,
PVC.
yeah. And then, all the different colors. I'd have like the purple cords with a color blocked Esprit sweater with a purple in it, and maybe a hot pink turtleneck that went under that. There was a hot pink stripe in the color blocked sweater, that whole thing with the matching socks and then the Reeboks. And we'd go to the Esprit outlet in, I think, outside of San Francisco. And we'd do a whole modeling show, me and my friend. And we'd go crazy. It was like the best thing ever. All my
So
back to school. I mean, that's why with my daughter, I'm like, you don't want to get anything? Like, me trying on my outfits, planning my outfits, like that was a whole thing.
I love that. So little Jill was clearly not an attention seeker in her chic outfits. I love this. Okay, so interesting. So I guess where did you start thinking about the fact that you could bridge models fashion into like a career? When did it dawn on you that that is actually like a legitimate option for you?
I don't think it ever did. Talking to all these people, even someone like Paul Cavaco recently, he said he remembers how 17 magazine kind of changed his life as far as looking at the pages and being fascinated by it. And it was the 70s, but he never thought someone was dressing those people. He never thought he could look and see where to get those pants. He never thought to look at a caption. He just thought these were photos of real people.
Hmm.
So that's his whole theory of the invisible hand to make the readers of his work also believe that no one dressed this person. This woman would have rolled up her sleeves this way.
Yeah.
Another woman would roll her sleeves this way. I would look at the pictures, but I don't think it clicked that someone was doing it. I was just doing what I was told. Like, okay, what are you good in? Math. Okay, you're going to go to college and study math. What happens after that? I have no fucking idea. I worked in a clothing store in Boston in between the semesters at college. I really didn't like retail, but during my lunch breaks, down the street on Newbury Street was Betsy Johnson, and that's where I would go. And then there was a John Fluvog, and that's where I'd go. So it'd be the John Fluvog shoes, Mary Jane, silver and red, and then these crazy Betsy Johnson outfits. I was obsessed. I remember junior prom, I wore a Betsy Johnson dress, and senior prom. And I did the whole like kind of hair to go with it and all of that stuff. So I would just be waiting for lunch break, and then I'd go to John Fluvog and go to Betsy Johnson and just be like, I'm in heaven. This is fashion.
I love this. Okay, so obviously you did the retail thing. You're at school. What did you study in college, actually? That's it. You said you were good at math.
Yeah, I went in thinking I was going to be a math major. And the way I thought about my school, so I thought I was applying early to a school in New York City. I didn't realize really that it was upstate New York, or that upstate New York was different than New York City. Like, I just didn't know. And I remember my mom driving me there to Colgate, reminiscing about growing up in Iowa. And I was like, where are we going? She's like, Colgate. I'm like, I thought we might have gone to New York City a couple times, like to see a show, maybe, or around Christmas. But I don't know why I just thought New York is New York. Like, I just didn't think anything different. But when I got there and I saw everyone wearing hiking boots and flannels, I was like, eh. So I just made a pact with myself that I wasn't going to conform. And it was okay if I ended up liking hiking boots and liking flannels. Like, I won't judge myself on that. But if I don't like them and I'm wearing them, then that's a problem. And I just didn't want to conform to something I didn't respect, or do something I didn't respect, or all of that. So I remember I had a Betsy Johnson catsuit.
Oh my God, yes.
And this is upstate New York. It's the poorest county in New York State. And there's one traffic light. And it was the Old Stone Pub, which is where we went. Oh, the Old Stone Jug. That's what the pub's name was. And also at that time, so we're talking 92, it was like a cowboy boot with a little heel, but it was an ankle. It would cut. Mm-hmm. So it was just the ankle cowboy boot, but it had the whole, looked like snake skin. I had them in like a bright green. Okay. And then it was like a blazer. So it was a blazer over a catsuit.
Oh my God, this is incredible.
With an ankle cowboy boot. That's what I would wear to the Old Stone Jug.
I found my new outfit, by the way, for this week.
So it's like I would put it on, look at my roommates, look in the mirror like, oh, are you really going to do this? And just say, yes, you have to. And it was never fun.
Fun?
Well, going out like that? No. But I knew, okay, it's like this. I hate roller coasters. But you know what I hate more? I hate the feeling when I don't ride one because I'm scared to.
Oh,
so I make myself ride it. So that's the metaphor.
That's the analogy.
Yeah,
I mean,
the analogy.
I get it. I hate roller coasters. I'll never go on them at all. I don't know. Like, fashion is fashion. You had that confidence, right? Because you loved.
I forced it.
I think what was going on was like fish out of water. So it's
Yeah.
like you are going to be that like gem amongst this sea of flannel boot wearing, people. Lady, I understand. I went to a small fishing village school, St. Andrews. I wore Dior moon boots, right? Like, I
Right.
understand. You
Right.
kind of just have to be like, fuck it. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to be like everyone else, and you're not. So you're starting to come into your own. I guess, again, like, did you study math at school? And
Yeah.
as you were like moving up, did any type of career path present itself, or did you have any ideas to what you wanted to do?
So I studied math, and of course, I was in a very small freshman year seminar because not many people say they want to study math. So it was like
Yeah.
5 of us. So I'm already building this. I'm not like everyone else, but not in a good way. Kind of just, I have this small group. I'm spending a lot of time with my math teacher. I'm in a dorm that's an older class dorm. So I'm not even with everyone in the freshman class. It just wasn't ideal, the setup. Like I wasn't in the middle of everything. I wasn't really meeting people. I had friends from high school that were going there too, but it just felt I was separated. So it was already that kind of thing. Um, I enjoyed math, but it got to a point to get a major. I had to do number theory, which I couldn't do, and I was excelling in, the differential equations and linear algebra and all of that. But I called my mom and she said, "What do you want to be, an accountant or an engineer?" And I go, "Neither." She goes, "Then why are you majoring in math? What do you like to do?" And I said, "Art." So she goes, "Then major in art." So I had been avoiding doing basic art because I was like, I had been painting in high school and I didn't want to do the beginning, the basic with a pencil and sketching, but I had to do it. So I pretty much fulfilled all of the requirements for the sciences, right? Because I had done all the math.
Yeah.
So then there was an opportunity to study abroad my junior fall, and I had just really changed majors at the end of sophomore year. So I went to Australia with some friends and I took a bunch of art courses there. But the thing that's weird about Australia, not weird, let's just say different, is that they have pre-professional schools, colleges. So for me to take my art in 2 years, I had to fulfill a major. So I had to take a bunch of art courses while I was in Australia. And they have an art university. It's like the Sydney Art School. So it's not like their liberal arts college is not teaching art. So I had to go to Sydney Art University with these artists to take sculpture one, like painting one, and I'm taking a bus from where I was living to the art school, and it was super intimidating. Um, but it was really fun to be there and experience something else. I just didn't feel like I fit in at all in upstate New York at Colgate, and yeah, I'd contemplated transferring a couple different times, and I figure, okay, I'll go there and then I'll come back and I'll only have a year and a half, and let's just get through this. And so that was when I started doing art. Then after college, it was like, what am I going to do? I had no idea. I didn't go to any of the job fairs because I didn't know. And I ended up realizing that everyone I knew from Colgate was moving to New York City. And I felt like, as much as I tried to find myself or stay away from conforming, there's always an element of that, right? And it's not even that you're consciously doing it. You fall into this group of people who all think one way, and you're not even learning about anything outside of that. So I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to figure out who I am after college if I'm still with the same group of people from college. So I just said to my dad, buy me a plane ticket as far away from here as possible. And I ended up at John Wayne Airport in Orange County uh, by myself. That was kind of where everything started. And it's funny because I don't even recognize the person that could go to California by themselves, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Why California?
I think, I don't know. I think I just had a thing like maybe LA's fun, but then LA seemed kind of scary. And I don't know. Maybe I just thought it was like, honestly, that whole period it's so hazy. But I'm glad my dad was like, get off the couch. Let's figure this out. And from there, I knew I liked anything in the world of art. So I thought maybe advertising would be cool. So he had friends that lived out there who took me in, or a friend that took me in for a bit in Orange County. And I was going around trying to meet different people and do job interviews. And I was kind of hung up on this advertising thing, thinking that was it. And while people were interviewing me, they kept saying, I think you should go to LA. So I was like, okay. And a friend of a friend had a friend who worked at Original Film. So she got me an internship there. So it was commercial work, music videos, and Neil Moritz, who was at TriStar, his office was out of there. So I just became a PA there. I worked on the Scream Pontiac commercial, which I had to tell Nikki Sixx he couldn't go into the Hard Rock until we stopped filming.
Amazing.
Yeah, had driving around with a Thomas Guide, a stick shift car that I'd shipped in, and a pager and a payphone. Like it was pretty crazy. And I lived in a studio apartment on Barrington and Montana, and where I was working was Barrington and Olympic. So it was a pretty easy drive. And then from there, I ended up finding an employment agency called the Friedman Agency. So when I started working for them to get actual money, I was being sent to different places every day with a temp slip. So that was very stressful.
So you were a temp filling in at different companies?
Yes.
Where would they send you?
I went to Castle Rock once, and I think I walked into the bathroom of the guy. Oh God, oh my God, what's his name? The head of Castle Rock. I've got to look him up. I mean, I had to answer phones at Endeavor, which as a receptionist, which was super stressful, trying to connect at 3 Arts. A lot of that, which was super stressful. I'd want to cry at lunch. I'd go to a payphone and call my friends or my family. Like it was that receptionist stuff when you don't know anyone and you're trying. Oh, I had to be a receptionist at Ernst & Young. They're the ones that like give, and you wouldn't know where you're going till they called you in the morning.
So it would change that much.
Yeah,
it
sometimes it'd be a temp for a week. Sometimes it'd be for a day.
All right, so you're temping.
Yeah.
How does CAA happen? Because I know you were there.
Yep. So, Castle Rock. Oh, okay. Rob Reiner.
Oh my God.
I walked into his bathroom. It was his private bathroom.
How did you walk into his private bathroom?
Because I was looking for the bathroom. And I didn't know it was his private bathroom. And I think he was like coming out. Like it was, it was all that stuff because you don't know anyone. You're this random person. Every day is the first day of school.
Pretty much.
And you're by yourself. And I don't know anything about this industry. Talk about fish out of water. That's my next experience of fish out of water. And how I even got through that is pure divine intervention. Like I just, to have the courage as a very shy kid to even go out there by myself, all of that stuff, like just going into a studio apartment, going to bed by myself, waking up by myself, like all those things. So because I was doing this temp agency that was through Friedman, a job had come up at CAA. So they asked me if I was open to interviewing for a longer term or a full-time job. And I was like, yeah, because at that point I had no intention of leaving anytime soon. And they said, we want to send you for an interview at this agency, and, it'd be doing gift buying for like celebrities or something. I was like, I can do gift buying. So that's when I went there, met Kevin Huvane first, had never heard of a talent agency, didn't really even know. They might have said gift buying and didn't say celebrities, right? Because when Kevin Huvane sees on my resume, I had studied in Australia. So I'm saying, oh my gosh, King's Cross is so great. Looking back, I mean, that's like saying Times Square is so fun at night. Like, that's what it was like. The bars are open all night. He's saying Tom and Nicole have been begging me to go visit them there. I have no idea who he's talking about. I think, again, this is foreshadowing to my interview with Anna, where I guess that is a good thing when you're so like, oh, cool. Like, not impressed, but not because you're not impressed, because you have no idea who they are and who they're talking about.
It's the naivete. It's an endearing quality. And like, again, you said it with enthusiasm, it showed. And that's why, again, what I think is abso-fucking-lutely adorable is that this guy, and again, I understand, how you're there. You're like, I've never heard of this person. Says Tom and Nicole, just knowing the you now,
Yeah.
like that is just funny to hear because it's very sweet. All right, so you're in this interview, so you're meeting Kevin Huvane.
Yep. So the other boss I was going to have was not there. So that's Brian Lord. But again, I don't know who these people are. So then Kevin wants me to meet the trainees of the office, because I would be the shared assistant, the number 5 between the two offices doing their more personal work. So I have to meet the 2 trainees, one for Brian, one for Kevin. And then they each had someone else in their offices, I think both female at the time, who did all the script submissions and all of that. Our offices were strange. Kevin and Brian, their offices were next to each other. In between was like a shower bathroom for them. Outside of their office is where Kath, who worked for Brian as the second, she sat. Jeremy sat closer to where my office was, but my office was the old Mike Ovitz assistant's office. So as I started there, big agents would come in and ask me if they could use the fax machine. And I would say, Mr., like Ray Kurtzman, Mr. Kurtzman, of course. Oh, well, when Mike Ovitz was here, we weren't allowed to come into his assistant's office. So it was all that type of thing. But
amazing.
Yeah. So
do you still talk to the boys?
Yeah. Jeremy actually just sent me a picture like 3 days ago of us from way back then. Because I call him Germbo and he calls me Chili Willy.
Is he still an agent?
He now is a manager / runs Woody Harrelson's production company.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, once in a while I'll, deal with them about an offer or something, but yeah.
How long were you an assistant at CA for?
I mean, it feels like a long time, but I'm thinking it was probably a year.
Wow.
Until I moved back. But at this time, Tom Ford's at Gucci. Brian Lord is very into Gucci, very into fashion. He had a bunch of the Gucci purple. He stood out amongst the agents, all Tom Ford. So through just working for Brian, I'd be on the phone with Charlotte Sprintis, who was at Gucci, Lisa Chic at that time. At this time, Todd Oldham is my favorite designer. He has a store on Beverly Boulevard that I used to go to all the time. I'd drive into Hollywood to go to his store. The only thing I could afford were his jeans and some of his knits. But when it came to my birthday and Christmas, and I got gifts from the agents, they'd give me gift certificates there. So for a holiday party, I bought this full-on silver pantsuit. It's just so funny.
You wanted slacks.
Yeah. And at the time at work, I'm wearing nude hose, 9 West, and BCBG. I had a bunch of it was all the pastels. I had the little short skirt. It had a jacket that matched and a sweater under it in yellow, pink, baby blue. So when I'm coming to New York, all I have are those looks. That was my work look. And then one black interview BCBG suit, which is what I ended up wearing to Anna. But Hamilton South is someone that was very close.
Not there yet.
Yeah, Hamilton South was close with Brian. So Brian,
it's the Gucci era. Brian's totally into Tom Ford. I remember reading about this period only because, like, when we talked, like, I was like a Queenie boy. Tom Ford Gucci for me was kind of my fashion awakening. So it's interesting to hear this perspective because it was such a big deal. For context for your audience, like, at that moment, Gucci was like in a hostile takeover attempt. At that time, I think it was LVMH versus what was Pinot's. Oh my God, what was it? It was like called something else before they called it Caring, like PP.
So 97. So this is 97.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was the LVMH had slowly started buying equity in like Gucci or whatever. So PPR, the predecessor to Caring, stepped in. And I remember Brian Lord and like that whole like Hollywood coterie kind of like were instrumental in, but like that's why it's cool to hear it from this side.
Oh, interesting. Tom is still at Gucci, obviously, when I come to Vogue, because I do remember my favorite dress ever to the Golden Globes. So it would have been my early Golden Globes, but probably 5 years into Vogue. And I got to borrow a Gucci dress. So how long was he at Gucci then?
A while. He was there before he became like Tom Ford. He was at the house previously. But it was really the like 94 to like, I don't know, 2000, I guess.
Yeah.
It was like the Tom Ford era, as it were.
Yeah. Because I remember I'd be placing orders. I remember the purple suits that Brian would have, super tailored, the tie, like everything. I remember Todd Oldham was at William Morris at the time, and I find out because I'm at the, I'm in the office that Todd Oldham's going to be coming in to meet with Brian because they're thinking about signing him. So I'm guessing back in the day, that's when he's pretty popular, right? So probably MTV House of Style is probably around then, right? And he's doing short films and stuff. So he's kind of doing more than just designing. So I'm so excited that I get to meet him. Like, it's like, oh my God. But that's when he's coming is when I'm going to be in San Francisco with my sister for her 21st birthday. So I'm devastated, absolutely devastated, like try everything to change things. And when I get back to the office, crushed, there's something on my desk. I believe he had a perfume at the time. He had left a note with that perfume on my desk because basically he's now a new client of Brian. But I'm totally happy taking over all correspondence with him and making sure he's always handled. His assistant at the time was the daughter of a big Hollywood producer. I talked to her all the time about Todd because when she'd call, that would be someone I kind of took care of. So she has decided she's moving to LA. She's no longer going to work for Todd. She's going to work with her father. They had produced Two If by Sea, I believe, with Sandra Bullock and that comedian, I can't remember. So when I'm thinking about moving back to New York, that's kind of a job I'm hearing about that sounds interesting to me. So my job at the time, is more personal stuff. I'm talking to Carrie Fisher a lot because I'm organizing where Billy Lord's going. Billy's 4 at the time. So my personal stuff for Brian is helping with Billy. So I answer the phone. If it rings a certain line, that's for me to pick up. Brian Lord's office. It's Carrie. Hi, Carrie. How are you? How am I? I'm hungover. I'm bloated, like on and on and on. And then I'm doing gift buying, So everyone has a birthday. Everyone has a start date for a film. Christmas is a whole other thing because Christmas, we're only buying for the kids of all the clients. So I have our client lists. We're doing it in tandem with a couple other agents. So we're separating them by 0 to 3. And then Kiehl's baby baskets. And then 3 to 6, maybe it's these book basket, right, of all the kids' books. Then we do like gift cards for the teenagers, so we're breaking it up like that. But it's, De Niro alone, has like 5 kids. Like you're doing it for all the kids. But during the year, and I'm talking birthdays for managers and agents too. So let's say it's Nicole Kidman's birthday. I have a calendar. Nicole Kidman's birthday's coming up. Brian and Kevin both work on Nicole. So I type up a buck slip, on Brian's buck slip and on Kevin's buck slip. Here are the birthdays coming up. I give kind of like 2 to 3 weeks notice. Which ones do you want to give gifts for? Because some of them are smaller. So I get their list. So Nicole's a big one. I know Nicole's assistant well, and I know where she shops. So with Nicole, I'm calling Prada, and Prada tells me what she's been looking at in the window. The Prada purse, I put on there. I have like the chenille sweater set from Eileen. I forget who. Those are kind of standard. So I kind of put these things on a list, and hopefully they both check off the same one. And then it's the whole thing, separate cards, shared card. You know me, it's all like super. So then someone like Brad Pitt, he's starting a movie, a start date gift. That's basically thank you for the commission, right?
Oh, okay.
So I think he's doing Meet Joe Black. And I was there for Johnny Depp doing Fear and Loathing. So I remember I found there's an antique bookstore. I was able to find an original Hunter S. Thompson, things like that. You got to get.
Cool.
I think we actually had Terry. I think we had the director, if I remember correctly. But Brad Pitt. Okay. Brad Pitt likes stickly furniture. There is an antique store that I could call and find out what pieces he has and what he doesn't. Kevin wanted to see the pieces in person. So they had to bring the pieces, the ottoman, the chair.
To the office?
Yes, to the office. So it's things like that. If I had a slow week, I was psyched. But if they don't like things, back to the drawing board, right? Because you always kind of have to top what you did last time. So, it was good for the women who I knew. Ellen Barkin, I knew where she shopped. Those were always kind of the best to know. Yeah, to call the personal shoppers and to know.
What was Ellen Barkin jewelry?
Oh man, I
still have that catalog from that Christie sale. It is inspiration. I mean, are you kidding me?
I don't think, okay, we wouldn't go too crazy. So I don't think jewelry came in that much. With start date, they wanted to be original. That's when they would
I think that's very clever. I had no idea that was a thing. I would have just assumed like, oh, flowers or whatever. I guess this is the perfect segue. Okay, so you're doing all of this. You're in LA. You're at like the preeminent agency and firm out there. Why move back to New York? Like, what prompted you to think, okay, I want to move back to New York?
Yeah, I think I just wasn't jiving with just the energy. I always said it felt like an urban suburb or like a suburban city, LA. It's just a weird place. It's exactly how Tim Burton shows it. It's like you're not really in a suburb because your houses are all so close, and you're definitely not in a city, right? Because there's not really there's not really a city. And I felt like at this point it was clear I do not want to be in the industry, or so I thought, right? I didn't want to be an agent. I didn't want to be a producer. I'm not a director. And so for me, I would never understand how someone was an accountant and lived in LA. If you don't have to be in the business, don't live in LA. Like, we never went to the beach. Like it's just go to San Diego. You
You
know,
never went to Malibu?
I mean, once in a while, like
The
when
best part of
oh,
LA.
okay, when we'd go is when one of the trainees was house sitting the agent's Malibu house and would have a party and we'd go.
That's
Otherwise,
what I'm talking about.
yeah.
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
talking
I'd
about.
rollerblade to like, Laguna Beach,
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was
All right.
rollerblade time. So I think I was just like, you know, okay, I've been doing this for a bit. It's okay, that was fun. I'm living in a very Melrose Place, the pool and the apartment building.
Amazing.
But it was just, I kind of miss just the East Coast and everything about that. So when I was telling Brian smoked but didn't want to smoke. He wouldn't really smoke during the week, and I'd put like a carton or a couple. I'd buy a carton and put a couple packs in his bag for Fridays.
Amazing.
But if he did want to smoke, we'd have to smoke at the loading dock. So he'd ask me to go with him.
You couldn't smoke in the office?
Mm-mm.
That's insane.
I think Woody Harrelson, when he came in, he'd smoke joints. Oh, I had to find him a hemp tux back then. There was one hemp store. Like it was like the weird store. Yeah. He must have been nominated or going to the Oscars or something that time period, and he would only wear hemp. So his gifts were a pain in the ass because it was all this vegan thing. Yoga wasn't even something I had heard of. Yoga was like Richard Lovett, the president of the company, was into yoga because for Christmas I'd have to like yoga. That was such a weird thing. Like he's one of those.
I'm
Yeah.
screaming, by the
Yeah.
way. This is amazing.
So when I was with Brian downstairs at the loading dock smoking, we were talking, and I said, I think I want to get into fashion. This whole Todd Oldham thing, knowing that Todd Oldham's assistant was leaving. So basically, Brian said he'd help me. So at this point, he has set me up to meet with Lisa Chic. He knows Connie, I can't remember her name, at Prada. So Brian's also wearing a lot of Prada. So at this time, I'm also sending my resume to Prada. Karina Martin, who ends up becoming my friend, she's the one that gets my resume. So when I come to New York, I'm meeting with Hamilton South. I'm meeting with Todd Oldham. Lisa Chic and I are in touch. Brian's brother gets married while I am his assistant. So I'm helping with the wedding. And why am I blanking on who he's marrying? Oh my God, she was a socialite. Crystal Moffat, Lord. Crystal Moffat.
Oh.
So Crystal Moffat is the bride to be. Brian's family is from New Orleans. So my involvement in supporting Crystal with this wedding with their family that are coming from New Orleans, just to, make sure everyone's on the same page. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going out to lunch a lot with Crystal. I get to know her. She worked at Condé Nast. She set up an informative meeting at Condé. So that first week I'm coming to New York, I'm already in touch with all of these people. So Hamilton, the first person I meet is Todd. So I meet Todd Oldham. He offers me the job.
How did it feel? Because you were a fan of his clothes. Did you wear Todd Oldham to
Oh,
your
I'm
interview?
sure I did. I'm sure I did. Again, I had all the jeans, all these sweater type things. I could never afford any of the higher end stuff except those two outfits I had from a birthday and a Christmas. So I barely remember this, but I know we're walking around. At this point, I fly, and my sister and her best friend from college are there for the summer. My sister was at Dartmouth, so we have a summer sublet. It ends up, because they got it without me, we're on 6 and C. 6 and C in June 98. So no cell phones, remember. I had a car phone in California, but only for emergencies. It plugged into the thing. So I'm meeting with Todd. He offers me the job and I accept it. I don't remember what the salary was, but it had a 2, if that, and that was the first number, and a very low second number. And the clothing allowance was only like $1,500 a year. That could barely buy me anything. But I was so excited. So I think I fly in on a Monday. I meet with him on a Tuesday. We go out Tuesday night. I think after him, I'm going to meet Bucky Keaty. She tells me there's a role. She asks me, do you read Vogue? And I said, no. I look at Allure because that's what on the Stairmaster, I could look at the pictures in Allure.
I love that you were an Allure girl.
Yeah.
All right. So you get asked, do you read Vogue? You say no.
Bucky asks, do you read Vogue? I say no. She asks, do you know who Anna Wintour is? I say no. She says she's the editor-in-chief of Vogue. I say, cool. She tells me there is a position open in Anna Wintour's office. We don't know if it's the first assistant or the second assistant, but the first assistant's leaving. We might move up the second assistant. I'd like you to interview, just because I had worked for 2 high-profile people, da-da-da. So I go, sure. She says, go across the street, read this magazine. It's a Sandra Bullock June issue. Read this magazine, know the players, and I'll let you know. Here's what I can't remember. How was she going to let me know if Anna was available? Because I didn't have a cell phone. Maybe she said, come back in a bit or something.
She must have. If she said, go read this and then whatever.
But then what happened was Anna wasn't available that day, so she was going to call me to let me know. So when I go home that day, I think that's when the offer from Todd comes, and I accept it. So I go out to Brother Jimmy's in Murray Hill, party.
Amazing.
Pass out. And my sister answers the landline the next morning because it's in her bedroom. And it's Bucky Keaty saying Anna can meet me at 9. And Kate tries to wake me up, and I said, tell her I already took a job. And she's like, put her on the phone. She goes, Anna can meet you at 9. So I put the same suit on, go in there. Again, like everybody else, it's a blur.
And you had already accepted a
Yes.
job at this time when you're meeting with Anna.
Yes.
Amazing.
So I feel like that all happened on a Friday because I think, or it must have been the Thursday because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. But meeting with Anna, it was very quick.
Or Times Square or Madison?
No, this is 350 Madison.
350 Madison? Okay.
Yep.
What was the office setup like? Because Madison Avenue at that time was like the epicenter, especially in New York, and you talked about it.
Yeah.
You thought maybe advertising when you were younger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Madison Avenue during this period is where media lives. So what was the Vogue office on Madison Avenue like?
I can remember the entry way. I've been in 3 buildings, and the weird thing is her office is always kind of the same. So I can remember I was sitting outside the right. Like if you're looking into her office, I'm on the left. My back is to her on her right. So versus the next office where we're perpendicular to her, not parallel. So I still couldn't see her, but it was better than turning around and still not being able to see her because the closets are here. So either way, you're getting up, and you can yell all you want, but I'm still going to have to get up, and you might as well just buzz me to come in like the agents did, right? Like, can you please come in here? I do think it was quick. She might have asked me, I assume she asked me the same general questions she asked everybody else, but remember, I didn't really care. I didn't know who she was, and I had already gotten my dream job, or so what I thought was my dream job for the designer I love, right? I do remember her asking me which agent she'd want me to call for a reference, and I said Brian, and then that was it. I had to go back down to HR, wait for Bucky to come out, and that's when Bucky, I think, told me then, either she told me then or a couple hours later that Anna wanted me to start Monday. And I said I already had that job. And she's like, we'll figure it out. So that's when I called Hamilton South to ask his advice and Brian. And Brian said, I hear she's a barracuda. There's no crossover with magazines and agents at the time. But you're going to be in the middle of everything. And Brian asked, do you want to be a designer? And I said, no. And he's like, well, Todd's a designer. Like, you'll learn about designers. You'll learn about, like, you're at the epicenter of the fashion industry. So even if you don't want to work in magazines, you're going to learn a lot about the entire industry working for Anna, but beware, basically. And I'm thinking Kevin wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy when I worked there. So then I had to call Todd and wiggle out of the job. And I remember taking a lot of time to write something down to say, it's a once in a lifetime that you're offered 2 dream jobs and blah, 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 blah.
Did you tell him you were working for Anna?
Yes. And Hamilton said he was excited. He's like, great. Now I know someone in her office. It was good to kind of have someone there. Same with Lisa. There'd be people like a Karina that I didn't realize she had my resume until I was placing Anna's clothing order to her. And she's like, oh, are you the Jill Demling that I'm looking at your resume right now? Like, so there became some connections right away. And Kevin Huvane's brother, Chris, who's passed away, but he was here. We're about the same age. So I had him automatically as a friend when I moved here. He introduced me to different people. He, at the time, was working for Stevens' PR company, Huvane Baum Halls. So I had some kind of connectors between the people I had met through Brian and then Chris, and kind of some people that were looking out for me when I first came.
Well, you need that supportive group. Talk to me about The Office. It's one of our shared experiences.
Yes.
So were you first or second assistant?
So I was made first. I felt like I got...
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, you came in
Yeah.
with somebody already there and
Yes.
took first
Yeah.
Ooh, JD, that's a lot. I mean, that says something.
Yeah. While I had never been the only assistant, she either I got a great review when she called Brian, but I did get some time training. I took very, very detailed notes. I feel like I had a week, but maybe it was less because I gave less when I moved on. But Melissa Skoog was the first. She was moving to accessories. So she was still going to be in the building, but I asked tons of questions. I wanted tons of notes. It's funny. I don't remember when I was there by myself, like that first day, or maybe it helped that Libby was there and she kind of knew how it went. It's like I can't pinpoint the first day when I'm answering the phone by myself and that stress. I do remember the stress well. It was super high paced, and I had to have a fan. I was always sweating with my heart racing. Like, it was just very demanding and super, super fast paced, super long hours, and just like keeping everything. I'm kind of built that way that I can kind of function and remember things and all of that. But like, she'd answer two questions with one answer. So you'd have to learn how to only ask one question at a time. She would look at her diary to tell you when she wanted appointments above you and backwards. And she wouldn't tell you what time. She'd just point. And actually, Paul Cavaco was talking about that too, like how she'd point to the images she wanted, and you can't ask for her to do it again. So just, okay, that must be 1:00 on Tuesday, based on where it is. You don't ask a question unless you really have to, and then you have one chance. Like, can you say that again? You better listen. And just the schedule, even just learning the blueprint of where people... I had drawn a blueprint of the office, because if I had to go get someone, I need to see Charlie. I needed to know which office was theirs. Then learning the Rolodex. Karen Mulligan and I talk about this. There's a formality in fashion that there isn't in Hollywood. Who's Lord? Who's Mr. Steven Spielberg? It's not Steven. It's Mr. De La Renta, Mr. Lagerfeld, even Dr. Schaffer, her husband. All of that. And then just doing all the personal stuff too with the kids and the checkbook. And she doesn't have a computer at this time. So it's
right.
Yeah. She likes to dial her own phone versus us dialing in Hollywood, but she needs the number. So you're writing it down and walking it in versus just dialing it.
Oh,
You
I
know what I mean?
remember. I
Yeah.
got criticized a lot for penmanship.
Yeah. So
It's
it
a
was,
7 or a 4.
yeah.
I guess my question is, all right,
Yeah.
so your first assistant, who's second?
So Libby is second and then she leaves. So it must have been, it was still at 350, but then I'm interviewing people. So Libby isn't really allowed to leave until we replace her.
Yeah,
But
of
that's
course.
when Leslie Fremar, we end up hiring Leslie.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
How long were you in that office total time?
So I would have been, so it's funny because talking to everyone, because when Liz Tilberis dies and Kate Betts goes over there, that's when so many different changes happen. And that's when my change happened, because when Kate Betts, and I didn't even realize she had been on maternity leave and all of that. But when she goes over to Harper's, she takes Dita Coben, who was booking the few celebrities that we featured at the time. So that would have been end of 1999. So I was there about a year and a half.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because just in time for me to take over Dita's trip to Sundance, which would have happened in the new year.
That's so
of
crazy.
2000. Yeah.
So you had said it kind of before. Did you go to the Golden Globes when you were at CAA, or did you go to the Golden Globes when you were at Vogue?
When I was at Vogue, at CAA, they'd have a Golden Globes party that we'd work at, like just work the doors at. I did get to go to premieres if my bosses weren't going. It was so exciting. To be able to go to a movie premiere was like the biggest deal as an assistant. To have the tickets, like it was like, this is major.
Wait, okay. So now you're in what becomes your ultimate role at Vogue a year and a half after starting there.
Yes.
You're going to Sundance.
Yep.
What is it like in the early days as like features entertainment? What is that like for you? Do you have a support team? Is it just you?
It's just me, but it was a slow burn at first. Dita had this Rolodex. I'm trying to learn the players. I go out by myself to Sundance, where I meet John Powers, our critic. Through being out there, I meet a bunch of the PRs slowly. Actually, I think that it might have been the first year that someone wanted to shoot Danny DeVito for a story, and Danny had a film at Sundance, and I needed to meet Danny. So somehow I waited outside this luncheon for the film, met Stan Rosenfeld, then was able to get the face-to-face to try to make this happen. So
somebody wanted Danny DeVito for Vogue?
Yes, it must have been Phyllis, like to be a character in one kind of story. But yeah, slowly kind of figured out the players. I did have a little bit of time before we went full in. I think it was 2003. It was the year it was 12 celebrities for that year. But before it started, probably like 5, I had the Moulin Rouge cover. I had Perfect Storm. I had the first cover of Charlize for Bagger Vance. I had Penelope Cruz's first cover for All the Pretty Horses. It was kind of a slow build, and then it became full on. Every cover now has to be a celebrity.
So let's talk about that. What was that process like originally in terms of like, how did you pitch a celeb? Or was it predominantly like Anna saying, this person has a film, like, how would that work?
Yeah, I think it was more like what's coming out this year, and then figuring out at this point you're in touch with all the studios. The studios are pitching you, and you're getting incoming pitches a lot. We're at this point where it's a huge deal to get the cover of Vogue, so you're getting incoming. But we also have Vanity Fair, which is the biggest competitor for me at the time. Harper's, they think they are, but not really. But in our minds, they are a bit, because it's Kate. So we're very cautious of what they're doing. But the stars that we want are being courted by Vanity Fair as well. And we have to prove ourselves as a worthy competitor to the Hollywood magazine.
Is this Graydon Carter or Tina Brown Vanity Fair? Graydon Carter.
Graydon and Jane Sarkin.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I know that Moulin Rouge was definitely a cover that we were up against them for. But Of course, at that time, we've already featured Nicole on the cover. And because of the fashion, and the studio agreed as well that, the whole pitch, this is a get. We don't do this often. For Catherine Martin, this is obviously the magazine. For who's going to watch the movie, it's our reader. So it was that whole thing, and just the negotiations, all of that. So that was one of the big ones. And Perfect Storm was the first shoot I remember going on with George, kind of the first man. And then we're getting these new actresses who look like models, who could wear fashion. And it was their first cover. And I felt like there was some freedom at the time. I don't think we were thinking so much about how are they going to sell necessarily. It was more like, do they fit the fashion? Like, can we see
Are they
this?
representative of Vogue?
Yeah.
That's the Vogue I
at that
grew up
point,
with.
we've put Winona Ryder. At that point, we've put Cameron Diaz. At that point, we've done Gwyneth and we've done Nicole and Claire Danes. Like, it's a pretty small group of people.
But it's a very fashion heavy.
Yes.
Winona was like a Mark girl.
Exactly.
Cameron Diaz was your SoCal girl who somehow still managed to like marry that with an easy polish. Like,
exactly.
It's interesting to hear you talk about it, only in the sense that it has shifted so much. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about, is when did that shift exist and how did it go from being more of a vehicle, one, for both the magazine to make sales, but also for this person's profile to somehow grow even more, for lack of a better phrase?
Okay, so when I was speaking with Tani, here's kind of how it went. Okay, in 2000, we had 4 celebrity covers to 8 models. 2001, 5 celebrities. 2002, 10 celebrities.
To 2 models.
Yep. 2003, 12 celebrities. And then it never went down to never less than 10, very seldom less than 11 until I left.
Wow.
Right. So it quickly turned. When you talk about Nicole Kidman at the Oscars, and her red carpet dress, I think that was the moment. I think that was right when it shifted.
Interesting. 1997.
I think that's the start of the
transition between the two.
Yeah, when you saw high fashion on celebrity.
On Hollywood. In a way that was just like, again, that's a movie star, but it's fashion.
Yes. And I know Anna had a lot to do with the shift, but I also think the shift also came with the supermodels phasing out, and that next lot of models was the heroin chic. So she wasn't putting them. I mean, does that seem like the right time?
Oh, that does make sense. I mean, yeah, I guess Kate Moss really wasn't that much on the cover of American Vogue.
Honestly, I can't picture solo cover.
But that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But like, that's what you're saying. Post Supers was your Kate era, right?
Right.
And like that coterie.
Yeah, the Shalom Amber, but no one that was. Cindy monopolized the covers. Cindy, Naomi. Yeah, Naomi too. So I think after kind of that lot, there really wasn't a lot of solo covers. I mean, I looked at all the covers prior to talking to Paul Cavacos. Stella Tennant came up then. Giselle, he did Giselle's first cover, but that's overlapping with my time.
I was about to say Giselle was later.
Right.
Giselle is part of the like late 90s, early 2000s, like renaissance of like your Giselle, like your glam.
Yeah, that
glam models, for lack of a better phrase.
So I'll tell you right now. So when I started, okay, so we're talking 1997. You have Amber alone, Christy Hume alone.
Oh my God.
Then triples, doubles, Uma Thurman, Naomi alone. This girl who's super cute.
Uma was an interesting choice. Again, probably for Gattaca, I'm guessing. But she was a Prada girl. So again, it makes sense to, again, put somebody like that on. All right, so wait, I want to go
Yeah.
back.
So then we have Elizabeth Hurley, but the models are Carmen Cass, it's
Yeah,
Amber, it's Stella, Carmen. Yeah, and Giselle comes 99. That's
yeah.
her first solo cover. And then you have some Carolyn Murphys. I can tell you right now, there's 3 models. I don't know their names. So they
That
weren't
should tell you
super.
something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. Okay, so you're in this department. We're now up to almost a 50-50 split, if not flipping
Yeah,
entirely. For every 10 celebs, there are 2 models. One, how did that job change? Because you're now doing more than twice the amount of work
right.
and bookings and whatever. But how were you able to convince the internal stakeholders at Vogue that, like, this is what's needed? We need to shoot these people for XYZ, because
Right.
I'm sure there was some resistance, a huge shift.
Right. Now knowing that Paul, that his job was that, and that means that when Tawny came in, it was made very clear to her that this was her job too, which is why there wasn't pushback from her. It was known. I think we had to do a balance. So if it wasn't going to be one of the girls that we already knew, the Nicole, the Gwyneth, those girls, Charlize became a bit, but it was really Nicole and Gwyneth those were the girls too, and Renee Zellweger, I guess. But looking at what types of actresses they were, how tall they were, just how they lived their lives, what they represented. Then it had to be something else. It had to be, is the film fashion? Is it something that makes sense? If it's not fashion, is it based on a famous novel? Is it musical? Is it stylized? What's the hook if it's not the person, right? Because it can be a Vogue film then, right? Bridget Jones Vogue film, Pride and Prejudice Vogue film, right? Chicago Vogue film, The English Patient could be a Vogue film, anything like that. And then we slowly transition into cover testing. So at this point, I'm getting a list of how people are selling. And there's a test division, a test market who are testing these people. So that's testing their likability, their dislikability, but that's okay. It's someone that doesn't get either reaction that probably won't sell. So if you love or hate someone, they're going to sell. People that hated Angelina would still buy it to see, oh, what's this bitch talking about?
Where would that come from? Who would provide that information to you? Was it publishing?
I felt like it was a whole division. So I'd always know the numbers of how someone did. That was taken away abruptly at one point, and
I
then
think that's fascinating.
so
I'm
we'd
jealous.
test a list of names. It would always be a list of names, and then we would be testing the covers that we actually shot. 3 different covers against each other. So if it's Blue Sky, Smile, The Cropping, to see which cover the test groups.
The audience would respond best.
Right. Who these people were, no idea. But what we could see is that, and the proof was in the pudding, a Sandra Bullock sold very well, a Drew Barrymore sold very well. But these were people that didn't seem Vogue girls. Well, Sandra had already been on the cover, that didn't seem Vogue girls, but were commercial. They had a wider audience in America. So the thought process is, if we can put someone like Deborah Messing, right, when she had a television show, which was something we were not covering with covers, then someone who doesn't buy Vogue could buy this magazine and then become a subscriber. But they might not become a subscriber if we keep putting Kate Winslet and Kate Blanchett on the
Did
cover.
that happen?
I don't know if they became subscribers, but we ended up putting more of those. It had to be a balance. So for every 2 commercial mass market covers, then I could put a Julianne Moore or a Kate Winslet, incredible actresses who are private, who are not doing the huge box office comedies.
This
Right.
is really interesting to hear, only because obviously when we worked together, it was very different as we addressed. It was like building up personas or profiles to a degree in a fashion space, and then having that really cemented by the cover plus whatever project they were releasing.
And then the other thing would be if we get how many issues Oprah sold or Angelina, that would move my field goal farther for the next year that month, because they're selling ads against the sales of last April. So now, next April, I need someone bigger than last April.
So how did that work? I mean, you know,
Well, when it was Angelina, Angelina's the only one that's going to sell more than Angelina.
it's so interesting to hear you say that, because from a digital perspective, we had real-time tracking. So
Right.
we knew. And so I am
Yeah, we did
envious.
not have that.
You
So
didn't
it's,
have real-time tracking. I'm envious of you, and I'm not envious of you in the sense that it's fascinating that the publishing side would give you that data and that reporting. At the same time, to a degree, it's what the entertainment gods bring you. You don't know, like to
Right.
your point, if Angelina's going to have a movie out that same time next year or whatever,
Of course. Yeah.
versus digital,
Yeah.
where it's like, you
Yeah.
know, she'll always be on the street. You know, you can always find that photo, jam it up there, and get clicks, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera.
And then I also had to think about the month, right? Because I mean, Angelina was on that first April, but April's not a good month. It's
Why
just
isn't
not,
April a good month?
because movies don't come out in April. They come out Memorial Day.
But we're a fashion magazine. A fashion person will not view April as a bad month. They will view April as a time when they're looking to buy
Right.
more spring, summer.
But having Angelina on 1 April and having huge sales for April, and then having me have to have April be, that's now just as important for advertisers as March. And for us, we're selling against Angelina last year. Advertising
Crazy.
needs this April to sell at least as well as last April. And that was a fluke. Like, that was one movie. You know, that's why September and March were always hard, because the movies don't align with those months. Because September's the end of summer, the summer blockbusters. That's going to end in the July 4th weekend. And then the Oscar films aren't going to come out till early November. So I have a hole there. Same with March. The Oscars are happening. No
Yeah.
one's going to release a film when people are rewatching Oscar-nominated films. So it was always that struggle, but it was always based on what I needed to reach, the numbers.
So wild.
Yeah. Whenever someone says January, it's just because we didn't have as much pressure from advertising, right? We didn't have it's smaller because less advertising pages, because they're not looking to sell something that month. And it's just following Christmas, the holiday sale. So it's not for any other reason than it's based on the fashion, exactly, calendar. So for me, I had less pressure. January wasn't a bad month. It was just a month that I could put someone that deserves the cover. We're not bearing someone. I get to put someone else, not a Nicole Kidman, on the cover then. So there's no bad month of Vogue. It's just we have to make numbers. Okay.
I'm nitpicking.
Yeah.
Like, add another layer of complexity to this. The September issue, it literally became something, like an entity onto itself. What was the process like planning for those? You were there for the actual September issue that's
Right.
being featured in the documentary, Sienna Miller. Let's dive in. What goes into the planning of one of those mythological issues?
Well, obviously the cover. And again, like, people didn't think the way I thought. I thought about my job, and I had 12 covers a year. I'm not taking this one cover at a time. I'm taking this as a year. So I have to map out where things can land. Not only in diversity comes up at one point, but not so much at the beginning. But as far as ethnicity or skin color or shape. That's not coming into play at the beginning. At the beginning, it is something as simple as blonde, something as simple as two comedian. Like, you're not putting a Sandra Bullock and a Deborah Messing back to back. Like, that's the diversity. But then it's thinking, if I use this person now, Nicole Kidman likely has 2 films out in a year. Let's not do her now. Let's hold her, because we can't do her twice in a year. So let's hold her for September. Or who is a fashion girl? You can have a fashion girl. That doesn't mean they're going to do a cover for no reason. September, for some people, did get to a point where they would do it without a movie. Other people, no, it did not matter. They don't have a movie, they're not doing a cover. And there's 2 reasons.
Even a Vogue September cover.
Yes, and that's for 2 reasons. One, they're going to have a movie where they have to do a cover, and they'd rather that be Vogue because they know how it's going to look. They know they're in great hands, right? And they know we're not going to do them again. Also, if we're not going to do them for their movie, if they do us for September, well, Harper's not do them because it's following us. They have to think about their schedule. Why would they have to do a cover, at least one, contractually for a film? So, yes, there are people that, love September and they would do it, like Sienna. She's a fashion girl. We could rationalize it. She could rationalize it. But, this is before their brand deals where it makes sense because you're checking off another box. That's contractual covers for a brand. So, now people can do that. But to have it floating, it looks like you're doing press for no reason. You don't want to be out there too much. Same reason Anna says never go to more than 3 shows, right? You don't want to be all over because then we won't want you. Let's be clear.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at here is we're now entering this new phase where you're hearing reporting back from publishing. You're seeing your KPIs, like your metrics year over year. When did the September issue become something more than itself? Because yes, the cover is paramount because that's what's going to drive all the sales, but it's also going to drive all the advertising. So like, what were those conversations like? Like, did you...
Jill, who's the September cover?
How early would those happen?
After last September was booked.
Literally, like, wow.
Who's next September? Oh no, it was so stressful. It was so stressful. You have no idea. Trying to think who would fit, hoping a movie comes close. Like, hopefully they have one idea. But if you think about the issues that most likely we had, one of those, that single model or the one of 2 models a year, it was probably September or March because those were the months that I couldn't. But we didn't do that often. I know we had Charlize. I know we've had Halle Berry. I can remember September issues. Gwyneth, we've had.
Jennifer Lawrence, Beyonce.
Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah, exactly. But music, once we started doing music, that helped me because music was more about they don't want to be out for too long. They're not having albums every year. And an album doesn't, it started to become a thing where it's not out that day. It doesn't open that day, right? You have a single, you have 6 months to pretty much promote an album. But yeah, some films could be big enough that they're an event that we could rationalize an opening in September, but it was really hard to convince a studio that we were going to sell tickets to a November movie in September.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was, a lot of that. Maybe we'd agreed to do another story that came out with the film or something else that could give it another boost when that happened. But no, a lot of times it was someone's first cover they were excited about. They would do a September for nothing, but you couldn't rely on that. You definitely couldn't. It was always think of a concept, think of a peg. Same with March. That's why we ended up doing Power Issue. That gave me something, right? The Power Issue. Let's make March Power and April Shape. We need something. So then it helps me. I can put someone on the cover that doesn't have a film that might seem random, but there's a shape reason to put them on the cover.
Yeah.
So that was
I want to ask you about the shift once it did move more into thematics, which obviously it did. But before that, who was the toughest September issue you booked? And if you can, who is the September cover subject that you weren't able to book? That it's still where you're like, how the did I not get this person?
I'm trying to find my little cover thing here because I have all of Vogue covers. Let me just see. Okay. Okay, Vogue covers. Okay, I have
Just September, because I'm
yeah,
going to talk
yeah,
to you about other covers coming up.
yeah. I just want to look at. Okay, so September's we had model. Then I had Kate Hudson. Then I had Nicole, that beautiful 2003. Then models: Sarah Jessica, Kirsten Dunst, Sienna, Keira Knightley, Charlize, Halle Berry, Kate Moss, Lady Gaga, Jennifer
I
Lawrence.
forgot about the Lady Gaga one.
Yeah, models: Beyonce, Kendall, Jennifer Lawrence, Beyonce, Taylor Swift after I left. For September, I can't think of someone that I couldn't necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there was a Rihanna time that we wanted her, but honestly, I don't remember any fails. I don't because I was always able to get it.
Who was the toughest one to book?
I mean, Beyonce was tough just because she doesn't give you an answer on Anna's schedule. So that was a slow and steady. And Anna would call me in, any news? And I would say, not yet. Either she's at Coachella or da da da. Jill, we need to know. Well, I can tell her we need to know by Friday or the cover offer's gone. And she didn't want to do that. So that was painful, because it was every day. And I'd be like, once I hear, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to be like, oh, I totally forgot to tell you. But that was always one that you find out on Beyonce's schedule. And Anna knew that. Julia Roberts was a fail. I tried to get her every year, and I was never able to get her. At the beginning, I would take Marcy out to lunch all the time. I tried everything I could to get her to do.
Can you explain who Marcy is for our audience, please?
Oh, yeah. Marcy Engelman is Julia Roberts' publicist, and Julia had done Vogue one time, and it was 1994. And I had heard she didn't like the cover. She didn't like the piece. You're not supposed to talk about any gossip that's been written about her, and you're not supposed to talk about her exes. And both things were in the piece. And I believe I have the issue, there's a reshoot there. The cover is reshot from the inside. I think it's two different photographers too. It's definitely two different editors. And I think there was airbrushing, changed the color of her lips. And it's just not a good cover, but she never did Vogue and has yet to do Vogue since.
You did get her, and I want to talk about this more when we talk about your post-US Vogue career, but you did get her for Edward Enninful's British Vogue for his last issue, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, second to last, excuse me. Yeah, because we had the strike that happened that kind of jumbled up. I had like this epic end run. Zendaya was supposed to be in there, but the strike kept bumping the Julia movie and bumping all of our covers. So Julia ended up taking Zendaya's issue, but because we had done Zendaya, and of course I wasn't going to let Julia go, but we would have had like 4 crazy covers, but with the strike, there was no way.
That's insane. We'll talk more about that when we get into it. Okay, so now covers are moving, and issues in general are moving more thematic. You alluded to this before, where you said it gave you more creative freedom in terms of subject choice, et cetera, et cetera. Elaborate on that a little bit more. Like, how did the thematics play into that?
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was a purely editorial decision or if the ad side, it gave them something to sell as well to do these theme issues. It definitely helped me because going to someone who's an actor saying, do you want to do our most important cover? It's not important to her. March isn't important to a celebrity, but if it's called the Power issue, we want you to be the cover of the Power issue. That gave us something. While it had its benefits, it had its drawbacks when someone did have a movie, but they weren't considered powerful. We took editorial license, Drew Barrymore, like, Shape or Power. Some of them made sense, like a Rihanna for Power or for Shape, but at least it gave me a reason to do athletes too. Power and Shape opened up the whole sports thing because it's very hard to have a month align with a sport. How do you do that? It would be the tournament just started or the tournament's going to end, and if she loses, you're on the stands. It's better not to try to time an athlete to an event unless it's the Olympics, and we're getting them on the cover before the Olympics, meaning they could end up not making the Olympics, but at least you don't have them on if they didn't medal.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like the predictions. So Shape definitely helped with that age issue. They're kind of silly, right? But those were fun. The cover sometimes didn't have to necessarily matter because how are you saying, like, hey, you're 20 something in the age issue, so you're the cover. That helped to get more talent inside. I don't think there's anyone that we put on that cover that wouldn't have gotten a cover if it wasn't the age issue. It's not like we went really old, but it helped us with inside ideas too. I think it was also to give us something to focus the features a bit, right?
Let's talk about athletes in Vogue, just because you're a huge sports fan across the board. When did that because to your point, it wasn't really a huge component of the magazine before. And that's only something that really started to happen in the mid to late 2000s. What were the first athletes that were featured and what was the process like getting them approved?
Yeah, it was interesting how our first athlete cover was Marion Jones. And that was in 2001. That was January. So I guess that makes sense from the Olympics 2000. That ended up being a scandal and whatnot, but
Wait, why?
Performance drugs.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah. But we didn't learn that until long after. But then it was fun to be able to do these Olympic stories and get to do some male athletes too. After realizing once you do the potential female Olympians in an issue with Annie and Phyllis, it's 4 years later. These are superstars. They don't create many of them in the world. They're likely to be the same athletes in the next Olympics. So the way to kind of mix it up was to do models with male athletes. Mm-hmm. So we're able to do that, which was super fun. Then we did once for Shape, then it moved into the Olympics, finding out that Doutzen was a speed skater, putting her with Apollo Ono. That was super fun. In New York, we didn't have any, I guess we had some winning teams in the Giants, but you have the helmet head situation where they're not so recognizable outside of the helmets. And then with football, you don't really have the physiques that you have in basketball that can wear clothes as men. So once the Knicks got Amari Stoudemire and then got Carmelo Anthony, that gave us some superstars in the city. My Boston Celtics, for some reason, weren't being given pages in Vogue, but that allowed us to kind of sneak them in. Then when tennis with Roger Federer, and it also depends on, is fashion noticing these athletes? Are people that aren't necessarily tennis fans watching these athletes? Has their star risen above their sport? So
let's talk about that specifically. I think one of my favorite covers that you ever booked, and it's one of my favorite shoots. I was still a kid, or like I was like young adult or teenager, was David and Victoria Beckham. It was a Vogue supplement, and it was like Vogue Man or whatever. I think it was like what was a potential test issue for what would become Men's Vogue, but before Men's Vogue officially launched. And you talk about athletes becoming more than just athletes. And I think that is a prime example of being there first and doing it before the Stephen Klein W spreads and all of
Yeah,
those like
exactly.
other beautiful images that came in your time from American Vogue. Do you have a favorite cover?
It's funny, I have some that are not mine. Still,
Interesting. Like
yeah,
which one?
still love Carmen Cass. She is May 2001. It's her Brits. She's in a red bathing suit. I love the first Angelina, the shape issue by Annie in the
Was that you?
Narciso. Yeah, that was me. I still love Natalie Portman's first cover by Stephen Klein and Phyllis in 2002. I mean, Christy, the Christy Turlington yoga position by Stephen Klein. I love the Gwen Stefani, Stephen Meisel 2004 in the striped lingerie dress. I love the Gwyneth Paltrow with the crown of flowers from 2005. I really love that one.
That's great.
Yeah.
Which one cover during your time that you made happen would you say is your favorite? Like the one where you're like, I'm proud of this, beautiful
I
image.
guess Marie Antoinette. Yeah. Because that's just like,
That was a sublime
yeah, it's
shoot.
just major
Were you at
cover.
Versailles for that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
I just
let's
sit in
talk
for
about it.
Rose Byrne. I
Let's
have the
talk about it.
Polaroids. I blew up the Polaroids of me and Karen. Karen had to be in position for Kirsten for that big group shot, and they were bringing in the actors one by one. And me and Karen were the last two stand-ins as everyone was coming in. I think there's 10 people in that shot. So Jason Schwartzman's leaning over where I'm sitting, and then the two last actors to come in were Rose and Kirsten. So we had to sit there for like hours.
Do you talk about this on your episode with Karen on your
Yeah.
podcast?
Yeah.
So everybody check out the episode Jill does with Karen Mulligan to get all of the details on it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. If there's one cover to choose, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome, Jill.
Yeah,
Like
that was a
that's
good
really
one.
cool. All right, so let's talk about departing American Vogue because it's not an easy decision. If you're in that environment, it is not an easy decision. It becomes a very comfortable environment because you do feel empowered. You do feel constantly challenged. It is an exciting, exhilarating environment, especially when you're surrounded by talent such as yourself. So, how did you make that decision and what was the impetus behind it?
I think by then, I mean, a lot of things have changed, right? We've already seen how the industry has shifted a bit after the market dip or collapse, whatever you want to say. Was that like 2009?
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, the first one. And then you're seeing the digital age. Social media's getting bigger. The importance of magazine as a celebrity's billboard is lessening. They now have their own billboard that they own. They're not at the mercy of someone else to get whatever they have to get out there, whether that's opening of their film, release of their new album. So they're not so reliant on us. And if they still like us, then they know that we know that we need them more than they need us because we have an empty billboard that we have to put something on every month. So it's not like magazines, there was more magazines and there was more competition and we weren't the best anymore. It wasn't any of that. It was just the interest doing the cover and playing by our rules wasn't there as it once was, where it was like a dream. Oh my God, yes, I'll do whatever you want. Of course, I'll shave my head. I'll wear that dress. I'll dye my eyebrows. You can airbrush me. You could do whatever. It was much more controlled. So that happened. And then the company.
Before you get
Yeah,
there, did you
yeah.
shave somebody's head?
No, but
Damn it. I thought you were going to be like, yes.
did we cut their hair?
I'm sure
I'm sure
at
we
some
did.
point somebody's
Yeah.
hair had to have been cut for a
Yeah.
shoot. But
Yeah.
like, sorry, you were saying the company.
Yeah. So then the company, we're going through this whole thing where we're trying to save money. So the talent group has started. When I first wanted to leave, when I first wanted to do more casting, Anna said, how about if I start a a casting division for you to run. That kind of ended up to be the talent group, but all that really meant was now I'm responsible for more magazines. And we're now supposed to be sharing information, not competing against one another. We should be, as a company, competing against other companies, not within our company. It was just getting harder. We were needing celebrities to do more when I just explained they wanted to do less. So you'll get a cover if you do these 3 videos. Maybe, no way. We needed more content from them. We were more reliant on them, but we weren't opening up the type of people we do that for, right? So it's not like we're going down to the next level. Who would have been excited to do that? We didn't just want, we're fully reliant on as a company. It was just getting harder, and all the parts that were so fun were no longer. And, it's just time. It was time. How many Rihanna covers? Although I could do a million Rihanna, but how many Jennifer Lawrence covers till I'm done, right?
I love it. I love it. No, I understand entirely. And you did build the talent group into a force, to be honest. I feel like a lot of the people who are under you are still there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're still there, still doing what they're doing. I mean, they didn't have 19 years before they got there. So, maybe in 17 more years, they'll be ready to leave too. But it was just really fun at the beginning. The legends were all there. We could do a lot of things that I guess we just really couldn't do towards the end. I kind of feel like there was more boxes we had to tick or more assets we needed to get. It just felt like a struggle, and it was missing all the fun parts. We didn't have the money to do those massive trips. You have these great ideas, but you can't implement them because you don't have the budget to. I felt like all the freedom from before, I felt like it was more of a pay to play type of situation. I don't like hearing no, and I was hearing a lot more no's than I was used to.
So let's talk about your collaboration and relationship with Edward Enninful, because I feel like you guys, similar to you and Anna, really great chemistry. And so after you leave American Vogue, you set up your own casting agency. You've already been doing some projects for The Gap and stuff like that. But you now are also going to be booking in conjunction with internal stakeholders. Edward.
Yeah, I always knew I was going to do that. Nothing was random. I wanted to be able to give Anna the opportunity to keep me freelance. I had been with her 20 years, but the point was I wanted to be freelance. I didn't want to get out of magazines. It was taking way too much time for what the pay was. I had a young child. The stress wasn't worth it. The emotional reward was no longer worth the
investment.
Yeah, the investment. So I still wanted to do magazines, and I still am doing magazines. But Edward, when he took over British Vogue, I had been working with him. I did the Bridging the Gap. I did his casting for that. He wasn't able to tell me that he had gotten that job. It was total secret. So when I had negotiated taking over the talent group, I had no idea that 2 weeks later he was taking over a magazine. Had I known, I probably would have gone with him at that time, just because I knew there's some women at Vogue who are not kind, that have high power positions under Anna, who just do not make it emotionally healthy or enjoyable to work there. And having a daughter, I need to put my emotional well-being above myself. And I knew that with Edward, we had a great relationship. He considered me an equal, and I could bring my talents to London and still live here. There was a time frame we had to kind of wait. There's a process. We didn't want it to seem like he was poaching me, because that wasn't the case. And we didn't want the press to think that, because it was untrue. So giving it enough time and starting there after I had trained someone and had done everything the right way, I could jump right in there and start working on covers. And that was my sole focus.
What did you think of London? Because I saw you when I lived there at all the
Yeah.
British Vogue BAFTA parties.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
I didn't go there much, but yeah, it's definitely different. And the office is so much smaller and different. And it's Edward running it. So there's just a relaxed feel. Not that people weren't working hard. It was just, you didn't have that heightened air, that feeling of work. It felt more collaborative, and it was fun to be able to bring him some firsts, like the first time he got Beyonce, or the first time he got Angelina, the first time he got Adele, the first time he got Lady Gaga. He had a bucket list of stars he wanted and that he had wanted too, but I'd always been against him, and I was always going to get him.
yeah.
Like Yvette said, Beyonce goes where Jill is, because I never didn't get Beyonce. And if I didn't get her, it wasn't because someone else did. It was because it was going to be 2 months from now.
I love that.
Yeah. So that was
Wait,
fun. And it was fun to be able to do them a different way. And there was more freedom in the way we did these celebrities too.
you glossed over this. Talk to the audience a little bit more about Vogue House, because this is in London. It's where Vogue used to exist. They have a new glossy office now, but you've been now at 350 Madison, 4 Times Square, One World Trade. Now you're at Vogue House, which is super historic. There will be nothing like this ever. What was it like?
Well, it was smaller. I mean, I'm coming from One World Trade Center, the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, to this like cute building. Everyone was very close.
Oh my
It
God.
was like one space. I would try not to drink water at One World Trade because to go to the bathroom was so far away. Everyone was talking to one another because it was open. You could see the fashion department from the features department versus the offices that went around
That's
the building
amazing.
facing out. It didn't feel like a newsroom, but it was more set up that way.
So you're in this much more collaborative environment. You're in a free-flowing space. You're coming off of hearing no. Now you said that it felt more freeing. What was being said? Yes. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, we still had to build it up to that, though, because British Vogue wasn't a competitor to American Vogue before he got there and while he was there. Like, no one was saying no to me at US Vogue to do British Vogue, for sure. They were doing a lot of British talent, a lot of models. Obviously, their first cover was beautiful. It got the attention of everyone. The Ottawa cover, Oprah got everyone's attention. So did Rihanna. When that Rihanna September came out, they come out before us at that time, which changed, but that was our Beyonce September, and they both had the floral headdresses. So it looked like we were copying them, but of course, having no idea that that was going to be the cover. But, I wanted him to be a competitor with American Vogue. So when I got there, that was my goal. Let's be the #1 magazine that everyone wants to do.
And I love that. And I feel like there were those moments, very much so. I really felt like what you did there with Edward was really create, as you said, like memorable moments and images. And so let's talk about that second to last issue where you assembled, 40 women?
Yeah, that was the last issue. So that was the March 2024. So Edward was leaving at the end of 2023. So what we were booking as his last issue was going to be that March. So yeah, it started as a smaller number. It was like 3 people. It was kind of like, okay, if we do Nicole, Oprah, and Fonda, those 3 were the 3 we had started with. It was like, okay, so Oprah is going to do it. Jane is going to do it. And Nicole, it was about her schedule. So we pretty much then honed in on these 4 days that Stephen Meisel was available, that Edward could be in New York, and that these 3 could be available. Then it was kind of adding as we went. I think we were cool with 30, and then suddenly it was like 40, and it's like, what? And then it's figuring out, we knew that everyone we were going to put on it had already had solo covers. So that was one thing. There are other people we would have loved to have on it who had not had covers. So we were able to get Amber, someone that's very close with Edward, a solo cover before we shot that because we really wanted her on that cover. But yeah, kind of just kept building people and building people. And the only person we didn't get was Nicole. She was in New York, but she could not get out of filming. And that was because of SAG, because of that strike. It crunched her schedule, and there was just no way. Everyone else were able to. Serena Williams was so ill. She flew herself in to make it, even though she was sick. Naomi Campbell had no voice. Iman, it hurt her foot, but Jane Fonda was also in a boot. But people all got themselves there. We did not cover costs of cars. We had no budget for that. Because if we did that for one person, we'd have to do it for them all. And we didn't have that budget. Yeah. So everyone did it on their own dime. We kind of staggered the timing, but it was the quickest shoot ever. I mean, it was literally that shot was. And then we had all the images being taken of them going into the studio, because by the time we were trying to get 40 people ready and dressed, we had the time to snap the shots of everyone just kind of hanging out in the studio. It's shocking that we got it done. It really.
Why do you think everybody said yes?
I think for some people who had never had the opportunity to shoot with Steve and myself, for sure. For others that were close to Edward, probably knew what was going on and did it for him. Others, as a thank you for the covers he's given them to support him to make this something that was talked about forever. It's the love between them. Definitely a thank you. Definitely an honor. Definitely the opportunity to be part of something historic and iconic.
Who was the hardest one beyond Nicole Kidman for you to book?
I think Cynthia Riva was tough just because she was in Mexico. So literally getting her there for the time frame too. Because remember, I mean, Dua has Seth Meyers. It's not just the day, it's the 2 hours too. So it's finding the 2 hours that people can fly back where they need to be or get here. So her flight, the only flight she could get on from Mexico because of the time change too, got her there. She literally, thank God she had no hair, because she was the last to sit into that frame. So just schedule wise, but it was a real bummer for Nicole that the production wouldn't let her go. It would have been an hour. They kept saying, it's not an hour, Jill. She has to get hair and makeup. But yeah, and then I think everyone else, Taylor, of course, we would have loved to have Taylor and Rihanna and Beyonce. Imagine that. That would have been like.
I still think it was extraordinarily impressive. The level of talent that was there, to your point, showing support. So I think.
Yeah, and the people that weren't on it that had covers, there's their own reasons. I think Lupita was filming somewhere, but also you have to understand with Mizell, you can't own his film. You can't own the rights to his film. So like a Madonna or a Beyonce or anyone that has that in their contract, you have 39 other people there. You can't own their likeness.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. Of course, if we could have had Nicole, Beyonce, Rihanna, and Taylor, and Adele, we asked all of them, but that would have been so major.
As you rattle these names off, have you ever been starstruck?
Definitely with Celtics basketball players.
Well,
like when I met Rajon Rondo, I couldn't talk.
I wish I knew who that was, but I appreciate that you do.
Oh, I think when I saw Bono, when we shot him inside, I was probably like, oh my God, but not really.
See, and we started this conversation with you feeling
that's
intimidated
weird.
by some of the people who you're talking
by
to.
the artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely by the artists, for sure.
But that should speak to your superpower.
That's so funny. That full circle, that it's the artists, the ones creating that I'm more, maybe it's something to do with respect too. I don't know. I think I've always put those artists on the pedestal more than a celebrity, right?
Well,
Like a
now,
Daniel Day-Lewis. Yeah. People like those types of artists, I think.
so now you're still working with Edward for EE72, but you are also doing stuff for Karine and Karine's son Vladimir's sports book, which
Yep.
is fabulous. I've
Yeah,
seen it.
players. Yeah, it's been fun now to have a bunch of more indie magazines. I feel like it gives me the opportunity to book talent that I wouldn't be able to at, say, US Vogue for sure. They're more open to interesting people. We get to work with other photographers as well that have their own opinions. There's more freedom in the pages for the photographers too.
So I
So,
guess my
yeah.
question is, who do you want to work with now? Like, who are those artists? Who are those talents? To your point, media has shifted. It's not like traditional media. Yes, it will always exist. US Vogue will always exist, et cetera, et cetera. But the audience is craving something a little bit more niche. So that's why they're going to see our fashion book because they want to
Yeah.
see a Cardi B, not like how other places are going to do it. They want to see the heightened, dramatic fashion reinterpretation of her that
Yeah.
Karine will bring. They want to see LeBron in players like
Yeah.
looking as an amazing athlete, but also the other facets of them, like the sophisticated gentlemen that they are, but also like their innate swag and style coming through.
Yeah.
So that is where we're headed. So who are the artists? Who are the talents that are getting you excited right now that you want to work with?
For CR, we've done great shoots with Beyonce, the Nick Knight, Miley Cyrus CR cover story that just came out is brilliant. I would love to do something with Gaga. I would love to, for one of the magazines, do something with Rihanna and the whole family, continue with the family portraits. I would like Justin Bieber. He's now working with Benny Tarantino, who's great. So I'm hoping to get Justin in CR or maybe GQ Hong Kong. I would love to do something with Amy Lou Wood.
You
And
should do
it,
something with Justin for players because he has that line Skylark and he has like a basketball league with them.
oh, yeah.
And it would just be like a cool confluence between fashion, him, I don't know, like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
way he's been documenting it. I mean, I will be a supporter of that entire family, as you're very well aware.
Yeah,
Like, I just think
yeah,
they're super cute and they work hard. Like,
yeah.
to your point, you get to have fun now. So, and you work with these titles. I feel like just show them. Have
No, for sure. We have a big portfolio in the December issue of 72 called The Originals, which is, I think we shot like 32 different actors and artists. And, I really wanted this Caleb Landry Jones. Landry Jones is very interesting actor.
English, I'm guessing.
No, American, but I got to sprinkle some of my faves in there. Some of these just interesting, cool actors that just have personality and a different look. And like this Indian actor, Nabhan, who is the one season show called Chaos, where Jeff Goldblum plays Zeus. And we got Jeff Goldblum in this too. It's just a cool thing. Yeah, so there's some just interesting actors I'd love to do more with, but definitely something with Mia Goth, see her in a different way. I've worked with her twice, but Amy Lou Wood doing something cool. Just when you see these interesting talent that you think will be up for doing interesting stories, kind of like what Mia did with Grace or what Saoirse did with Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll kind of see. I'm still trying to get Olivia Rodrigo for Vogue Philippines. It would mean a lot to the nation and to their readers to get her. So there's some things I'm still kind of behind the scenes, hoping to get a yes, hoping to see Sade on a cover with Edward. That's the last person on his bucket list that I will get before I die.
I love it. Is there anybody else on his bucket list between the two of you that you haven't gotten?
No, she's the one that's left.
She's the last one.
Yeah, I'm sure he's added some people to a new bucket list, but I'm going to finish this last bucket list before.
I love it.
Yeah.
I also love that you are working still with like Vogue and GQ Hong Kong, Vogue Philippines and stuff like that, and that you're utilizing your talent, your skill to bring these talents to those markets, only
Yeah.
because it does mean so much to those audiences to have those figures who are either of that descent or part of the community appear on those issues. And it's a big deal.
Yeah, and it also gives them freedom. Like, Vogue Singapore, you can do just shoots that you would never be able to do anywhere else. You don't have the constraints of looking at the camera or certain brands. And we just did Leighton Meester for Vogue Greece with La Roche. He wanted to start working with some of these other magazines that just do different things. And with my photographer friends, Domen and Van de Velde, and they built this whole world where she's like a nymph in this land of beautiful pastel mushrooms and oversized. And it's just what you want to see. You want to see these images that take you to a different place, and that's how they did her. And even Emily Blunt in the elevator, and just working with different people and doing different things. And it doesn't have to be big budgets, it just has to be imagination and people up to do it. So that was fun. And we have Elle Fanning coming out on Vogue Hong Kong November. She's wearing a choppy black wig. We made her Pumpkin Prada with Norman Jean. It's fun for the talent, and it's fun to watch them. She's jumping in the air. She got so much height. We had her pretending she's playing an air guitar in Prada clothes as a little punk, and it was awesome.
That's what's missing in fashion right now, is the fun, is the hyper optic fantasy that like we luckily got to grow up with and then also contribute to, which is very cool.
Exactly.
One of my questions to you is, only because you've collaborated and worked with Annie Leibovitz so much, who is one person that you want to see her shoot who she has not?
I mean, I know she's photographed Beyonce for something for Disney. I think that'd be cool if we could strip it all down, right? If you almost think about one of her classic Annie portraits where you just see the person's soul, it's almost just like
raw.
Yeah. I think I'd want to see that.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
That's your challenge for EE72 or whatever.
Exactly.
I swear.
I know, but Annie has her contract, so she can't shoot for anyone. That's the problem.
There you go. Oh my God. What else?
No, I'm exhausted. These are hard.
Do we do the 7 rapid fire questions?
Oh, sure.
AM and PM.
It used to be AM, but now it's become PM, and I need to get it back. But once you fuck with your clock, man, you fuck with your clock. I have not gone to sleep before 1.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I've got to dial this back, seriously. But now my body's used to it. I can work till midnight, and then I'll get it back to AM by the next time we talk.
Uber or Subway?
Uber. Yeah, but it should be Subway.
Isn't that all of us, though?
Yeah, exactly.
Please. Book or film?
Film.
Oh, interesting. Okay, sweet or spicy?
I like to think I'm sweet, but I'm spicy.
I think you're a mix of both. I know the answer to this one. Spots or stripes?
Stripes.
Always. This last one does not apply.
I am a top.
Yeah, you give top energy. Are you kidding me?
Well, and also just when I think about top, I only think about the top.
Oh, I mean,
the bottom is always can be basic. It's the top.
Spoken like a true top, everyone. Jill Demling. The bottom can be basic. Oh my God, JD, I still have so many questions. This is amazing.
Oh,
you're great.
This is exhausting.
Yeah. But it's good. You're an amazing interview.
Yeah, we could always finish it another time. All right.
All right.
I
Bye.
love you.
Bye, love.
Okay, bye. Okay, that's our show. Thanks for listening to Going Rogue. And be sure to like and subscribe. Today's show is produced by me and Maddie Rosenberg at Radio Free Rhinecliff with assistance from Maddie Kelly. Special thanks to David Vo for our great graphics and Taras Romanov for our epic theme music. See you next Friday.